So for today, the topics would be like we will see how the connection is being made between the SAP BTP, which is nothing but your business technology platform, and cloud connector. So we'll see how to make a secure connection between your cloud connector and your SAP BTP account. Okay. And then for that, what are the configuration steps? So that we will see. Once that is done, so the service that we created in the last session, that service we will integrate in our UI5 project using Business Application Studio. Okay, so that is one thing. So once that is done, after consuming the oData service from our on-premise system, then the last step would be the deployment part. So we will deploy this app on Cloud Foundry first. First, we will deploy this app on the Cloud Foundry. Cloud Foundry means on your BTP cockpit. So on BTP, it's a cloud. So on that, we have to deploy it. And as BTP, it is a part of our Cloud Foundry services. So we have to deploy our Fury application on Cloud Foundry. So that is one thing. And we will also see how the app is deployed on on-premise system. That is on your ABAP repository. So as of now, there are only two target systems or environment on which you can deploy your app. One is your ABAP and second one is Cloud Foundry. But earlier, like we used to have three options from WebID. Like you can deploy that app through the Fury Launchpad. You can deploy that app on cloud platform. And third is ABAP repository. So I think registering on Fury Launchpad and uh, deploying on cloud platform is almost same. Okay, but only like at the end we are deploying it at only two environments. That is the case. Okay, so let me share my screen and then let's see what are the steps to configure the cloud connector and how to create a secure connection between your cloud connector on-premise system to your BTP cockpit or BTP. Okay, let me share my screen now. So guys, can you see my screen now?
Yes.
Okay, fine. Yeah. So let me search for remote desktop. Okay. Yeah. So guys, first of all, whenever you want to connect your on-premise system, okay, on-premise system, the system which is available in your customer's network. Okay, it's not available on the cloud. It's totally available on the customer network. So when any cloud services, okay, need access to that on-premise system, so for that, basically a cloud connector setup is done. Okay, so cloud connector means it's like a setup or the installation we have to do locally on our machine through which the servers will be connected to SAP BTP or our cloud platform. Okay, so earlier like we used to connect cloud platform, but now cloud platform has been renamed as SAP BTP, which is nothing but your business technology platform. Okay, and now BTP it's running its services under Cloud Foundry runtime. So so the runtime that we have to run the BTP services is Cloud Foundry. Okay, so what we have to do, so our task is we have to consume oData service, and that oData service, where it is located, it is located in our on-premise system, that is in customer's network, right? So we need access to all that oData services so that we can consume that oData services in our business application studio. Okay, so the guys, the same steps follows to WebID as well. Okay, so for WebID also, WebID, it is a browser-based solution. BAS is also a browser-based solution, which is totally available on the cloud. So whenever you need any access to the resources which are available on on-premise system, so for that, Cloud Connector is the only option through which you can consume that services or you can consume those resources. Okay, so I will share one blog through which you can set up or you can install your cloud connector if you want, or otherwise, just for practice purpose, what you can do for that already, see, if you want to practice for 1 month, you can take a access from this vendor and definitely within this remote desktop, right? Already the setup is already done. Okay, you don't have to do anything. Cloud connector is already set up. What you have to do, only we have to add our sub account. We have to connect our sub account to this cloud connector. Then only it will be connected, and after that you can easily consume any oData service. Okay, even you can deploy your apps from your BS to ABAP repository. Okay, so let me just log in into Cloud Connector. So I think basic there is a URL which is there. I'll just open the Firefox and from here I'll just search for the Cloud Connector. Okay, so this is the username and password. I'll just click on login. Yeah, fine. So this is the home page for the Cloud Connector. So now within this home page, what we have to do, first of all, the first step is we have to add our sub account. Okay, so can you see the option here, add sub account? So this is our first step. So first we have to add our sub account. So once we complete our sub account thing, so our sub account will be added in this place. Okay, so likewise, I have already added my sub account. You can see the sub account details here. Okay, so this is the sub account which I have added, and I'll just click on this edit. You can see the display name, location ID and all. So location ID description is it's optional. Okay, wait, just I think there is an option through which you can edit all the details. Yeah. See, already this is operational and it was connected April 7. So it's giving the yesterday date and time. I think that's fine. Okay, so what is the step? First step? First step is we have to add our sub account in this. Okay, to add the sub account, click on this add sub account option. So from here, we have to choose the region. Okay, first part is the region through which our sub account is connected. So we have a list of regions here. So as my region was US East AWS. Okay, this was the region for me. So I selected this one. So after selecting the region, next we have to provide sub-account ID. So this sub-account ID is already available in your BTP cockpit under the sub-account. Okay. After that, you can give any display name. It's optional. Then you can provide your BTP credentials. Okay, the credentials that you're using to log in into your sub account, that credentials like that username and password you can provide here. Okay, so once it is done, it's your choice whether you want to provide location ID or not. It's optional. And now simply click on save. So once the sub account is added, you can see the sub account as a part of this sub account dashboard list. Okay. So once it is done, so this is how like you can see this is how I have added my sub account. And after adding or after linking the sub account, next step is what is the next step? So next step is we have to add configuration for cloud to on-premise. OK, this is what the option we have to choose. So first of all, you have to go inside this. Once you are inside this, then only we have to choose this option cloud to on-premise on left hand side. So click on that cloud to on-premise. And after that, this is what the mapping we have to maintain for the system which we have. And apart from that, we also have to make sure that we expose every path. OK. So there are two steps in this case, like in cloud to on-premise. First, we have to create the virtual mapping to the internal system. And second is we have to create or we have to define the resource path. OK, so there are two steps. So first step is Let's click on this plus icon. Okay, so first we will add the mapping virtual to the internal system. So just click on this plus. Now first we have to choose backend system or type as ABAP system. Okay, because we want to connect our ABAP. So in a drop down there are plenty of options. So I'll go with ABAP system. I'll say next. After that, there is a protocol. So which protocol we are using? HTTP. So that you choose it, click next. Now there is an option for internal host and internal port. Okay. So guys, if you don't know what is internal host and internal port, so you can log in into your SAP GUI and there is a transaction for that through which you can get this details. Okay, just 1 second. I'll just log in and I'll. Okay, so this is a transaction. Transaction code is SMICM. Okay, this is the T code SMICM. So go into that T code and there is an option on the top like go to, and in that you can go to the services. Okay, so when you go to the services, can you see for HTTP protocol, we are using it, right? Which protocol I'm using in this HTTP. So for that, what is a port number? So this is a port number 8701. And what is a host name? Host name is S4HANA 1909 server.com. Okay. So this two details are very important for us according to the protocol that we choose. Okay. The port number and host name. So if you go back into this and if you see, I have added what is the internal host here? Internal host here is IP address, okay? But it's optional, okay? If you can go with the IP address or you can provide the host name. I think that will be fine. Okay, still it will work. And there is one more option through which you can choose the IP address. But at least you got it right. So from here, you can get the port number and you can get the host name. After that, in internal host, basically we add these details under the internal host. Okay, not the virtual host. We will add these details in internal host. So when we click on this plus, when we go next, yeah, in host, we should provide that name and in port, we have to provide the port number. So once it is done, now it's asking for, yeah, it's invalid. 1 second, just wait. Yeah, so it will take the same details of internal host and port number for the virtual host and port. But what you must do, you make sure that you keep. Okay, the best way what you can do, you can keep a different address for your virtual host and virtual port number. You can give a different address here. Anything will be fine. But see, guys, first of all, it's not our part to configure the cloud connector. Basically, this comes under the basis team. Okay, mostly the security team will do for us. Okay, this is not our step, but at least we must know like what are the basic steps while setting up the cloud connector. Okay. So just provide the virtual host and port number. After that, we simply click next. So yeah, after that, we have to choose principal type as none. Just say next and then host in request header. What we have to use? We have to use virtual host only. Just next. Wait 1 second, wait. Yeah. So we have to use virtual host only as a request header. Just say next. Now you can provide some description next. And now it's asking, it will provide a basic details like portal, protocol, internal and the virtual address. And after that, you can just click on finish. That's it. So once it is done, you will see the mapping will be added here. And this is what the mapping I have maintained so far. OK, this is the mapping which I have maintained while adding to this. I've selected ABAP system, HTTP. You can see the virtual host I've given it as SAP.onpremise. Virtual port number I've given anything. Okay, but it must be like a 4-digit. After that, internal host and internal port, it's coming from SAP system. Okay, you can check SMICM transaction for that. You can select principal type as none and make sure that in host the request header must be as virtual host. That's it. Okay. So once it is done, this is how the details will be added under this table. So now last step is we have to configure the resource path. Okay. So to configure a resource path, just click on this plus icon. And now here, mostly the path should be /SAP/. This is what the path we maintain always. Okay. So any resources which we want to consume, mostly it will come under this /SAP/path. Okay. So that's why this is like a default that we are adding in this in a URL path. And now after adding this, make sure that it is active and the WebSocket must be unchecked. And after that, access policy is there. So in access policy, you go with the second option, path and all subpaths. Okay, this is what the path this is what the option we have to choose, path and all subpaths, and just click on save. So once it is added, you can see that details in this table. That's it. Only this much of the configuration steps are required when it comes to the cloud connector. First step is we have to add a sub account. Once the sub account is added and once it is a part of cloud connector, next step is we have to add the virtual mapping. Okay. So we have to add a virtual mapping, and last step is we have to add a resources path for that. That's it. Any questions here, guys? Any questions?
Yeah, because so here it is a HTTP like protocol kind of, right? Not the HTTPS. So
No,
next time
not
it will
not
be
HTTPS.
HTTP.
Yes, HTTP
Uh,
protocol only we have to use.
but on I mean like on the live project it will be HTTPS, I believe, or something
No,
else
no,
it
no.
will be
It would be HTTP only.
HTTP only.
Yes, mostly it would be HTTP only.
Mhm. Fine, fine.
Yeah. Okay. So once all this, see guys, first of all, it's all comes under the security, and probably there would be a separate team who would be working on this configuration. So you don't have to worry, because earlier, like, yes, developers used to have access to all this, but now I think everything will comes under the security team. Okay, the security team will make each and every setup and will provide this service as a ready-made. Okay, so don't worry on this, but at least you must know as a basic overall idea. And it's even a certification. Under the certification, the questions will be asked like which address will be used as in a cloud connector. In cloud connector, which URL we will point out to. Mostly we use virtual host from the cloud connector, not the internal host. Now, when you want to expose this on-premise system to the BTP cockpit, which address we use? We use virtual address, not the internal host. Remember that, guys. Okay. So it's a certification question also. Under the certification, if you are planning for the certification, so for that also, like, the question is asked. Okay, fine. So once after making a secure connection between your cloud connector, means cloud connector will help you to create a secure connection between your BTP cockpit and on-premise system. And that secure connection can be established through the cloud connector. Okay. So after this, what we have to do? After this, let's go back to now our BTP cockpit. Okay, let me log in into BTP cockpit. Yeah. So now we have to go to our trial account. Let's go. Yeah. So once, guys, after accessing your trial account, then we have to click on this sub account tile. Click on that tile. So the details which I provided, right, to add a sub account, all these details will be available in from this sub account. Okay. So I provided this sub account ID. While adding the sub account, you can see the region as well in this. Okay. Only these two details are required. And apart from that, what details are required? You can provide your username and password. Okay. To configure your sub account under the cloud connector. That's it. Yeah. So let me take you to, so this is a BTP cockpit, and now the connection that we made, okay, guys, the connection that we made from our cloud connector to our BTP, it will be under the connectivity. So there is a separate tab on left hand side that is a connectivity. So under the connectivity, we have two options. One is the destination, second one is the cloud connector. So under the cloud connector, the the connection which I made, right? So that connection will be available in this, and you can see that. Okay. First, the when you create a virtual mapping, this master instance will be created. Okay. So sorry, not master instance. Sorry. When you add a sub account under under the cloud connector, so your master instance will be created for the first time. Okay. And now when you add a virtual mapping and when you expose that resource path, at that time, this second part will be added, expose backend system, and you can see the host address, protocol, and backend type for that. Okay. And you must see the connection as connected on the top, and resource must be available. If you see any other point here, like if it is not connected and you can't see resource as available, then make sure to recheck in your cloud connector configuration. Okay. But mostly when you connect your BTP account to the cloud connector or sub account to the cloud connector, mostly you will see this details under the cloud connector tab for that. Okay. And this is what the details we have. So now after connecting your sub account to your BTP, and you can see the exposed backend system, which is available now for us. Now the last step is how to consume this in our BS tool. Because at the end, we want to deploy our app on ABAP repository. And at the same time, we want to consume or we want to use the oData services that we created on on-premise system, right? So that oData services we have to consume here. So for that, who will help us? Basically, the destination will help us for that. Okay. So mostly to consume any data from on-premise system to your BS, it is done through the destinations. Okay. Without destination, it's not recommended, guys. So the best way to use or to consume or to integrate any OData service in Fiori application is through the destinations. Okay, so we have to set up our basic destination. And once our destination is set up, then only you can access that OData service in your BS tool. Okay, so now how the destination is set up. So I'll take a simple example of the destination which I have configured so far. So I'll click on this option. Okay, yeah. So these are the basic details of destination configuration which I have added for the cloud connector and even the on-premise system, which I have done. So first of all, you can provide the name to your destination, and this name is what will be used in your BS. Okay. So under the SAP system, so you might have seen a tab called data source and resources. Under that tab, we have to select SAP system, and under the SAP system, we will see the list of destination names. Okay. Let's say under the destination, I have maintained like 3 or 4 destination. All that destinations will be available under your BS under that SAP system list. Okay. So now you can provide a name to your destination and then you can provide a type. So as which type we have used, which protocol we have used HTTP protocol. Okay, you can provide a description, anything. And now what about the URL? See, this URL is nothing but your virtual host name with port address. Okay, so the port address and the virtual host name that we provided for the virtual tab. So that only we have to use. Before that, just we have to add http:// and then you can paste this virtual host and port address. That's it. Proxy type you can choose from the drop down as on-premise. And now the last part is authentication. Okay. So under the authentication, see, as this is a rented system, so it's a individual ID, right? It's not managed under the organization. So I'm just using for my personal use. So that's why I'm going with basic authentication. But in real-time project, guys, instead of basic authentication, it will be principal propagation. That is what the authentication will be used, because it's not that your credentials will be used to access that resources from the cloud connector, right? If any OData resource you want to access, your specific user ID or password will not be maintained under the destination. That's not a good practice, because for you only this will work. But what about others? Okay. So for that only, mostly the authentication would be the principal propagation for that. So by choosing a basic authentication, you can provide the location ID. If it is provided in Cloud Connector configuration, you can provide. Otherwise, you can leave it as blank. And after that, you can provide the username and password which you are using while logging in into your GUI application. You can use that credential same. Okay, so that is what the steps we have to follow for left hand side. And now for right hand side, these properties are very important, guys. Okay, because these properties will help you to make the system available under your BS. Second thing, it will help you to deploy your app, and it will also help you to consume the OData services. Okay, so the services that you want to consume. So that services are, it all depends on the properties that you maintain here. Okay. So let's talk about the HTML5 destination. So this is the common property now which we have to maintain in our destination. So just add HTML5.dynamic destination as true. Next is HTML5.timeout. You can keep it as any timeout like 5,000, 6,000. You can keep some any random time. After that, SAP client. So which client I'm using 800. So that's why I've kept 800. Web ID enabled true. Web ID system, you can give any name. Okay, that's fine. Web ID usage is there. Now this property which is defined here, Web ID usage, it's even asked in certification, guys. Okay, it's a common question in certification. Like in a certification, two questions will be asked. Whenever you want to extend a standard app, which property you must define in your Web ID usage? Okay, so which answer I will give here? See, I want to extend a Fury app which is located in on-premise system. Okay, let's consider there is a Fury app which is located in on-premise system, and now I want to extend that Fury app. Okay, in our BS. So which property or which value I have to maintain for this Web ID usage? That property is dev underscore abap. Okay, so this property is mostly used to import apps from your ABAP system to your BS account. And this property will also help you to deploy your app on ABAP repository. So for deployment and for importing the ABAP project or to extend the Fury app, for that, this property is used, dev underscore ABAP. Okay. And what about this OData underscore above? This property is mostly used like when you want to consume OData service. Okay. So to integrate a OData service from on-premise system to your BS in a Fury app, for that we have to use OData underscore abap. That's it. So once all these properties are maintained, you simply click on save, and after that you can simply check for connection. Okay. So if the connection is successful, then only you can easily read the resources from your on-premise system. Okay. Otherwise, if connection is unsuccessful, then what we have to check, we have to cross check we have to cross check this destination configuration. And at the same time, you can cross check in your cloud connector. So guys, any questions for the destination configuration?
So is it same with the web ID as well?
Yes, yes, yes. For web ID also, see, now earlier, like for web ID, right? Web ID full stack mostly. So web ID is also part of a BTP now, right? But it was the runtime for web ID was Neo environment. But now for this BS, we have Cloud Foundry because Neo is almost it's deprecated now. So in couple of years, it would be obsolete. Okay. So now this BTP, the runtime for this BTP is Cloud Foundry. But the destination wise, the configuration which I have maintained here, right? It's 99% same to web ID. Okay, no change in that. Okay. So for web ID as well as for BS, the configuration is almost same. Only which properties are introduced new? I can see only two new properties: HTML5 dynamic destination, HTML5 dot timeout. So only these two properties are newly introduced in this destination configuration. Earlier, these properties were not available. Okay.
Yeah, so this new file actually where we will be configuring a bit.
Which this destination?
Yeah, that new file. Let's say if you are using the web ID and full stack one, so where we will be configuring this new file actually?
A new
New
file means you're talking about the destination, right?
destination new file, yeah, correct.
Yeah. See this destination. See for web ID also, like if that web ID is a part of cloud, because there are two types of web ID. One is web ID which is available on the cloud, which is a browser-based solution. Second, we have one more web ID which will be like your personal edition web ID, which will run on your local system. Okay. So for local system, we mostly maintain a destination file. Okay, in one folder, in under a destination folder, we can maintain this destination file. Okay, but for cloud web ID, the cloud version of web ID, for that, the step is almost same. There is no change because under the web ID also you will see one connectivity tab, and under that there will be one destination link. Okay. And under the destination, same options would be there. There will be no change in that. Okay.
Okay.
So you can for web ID also see web ID is also it is also a part of BTP only now. So under that sub account, you will see this connectivity option. So
Yeah,
under
so
that connectivity only, you can configure a new destination if you want. So the option wise, configuration wise for web ID and for BS, everything would be same. No change in that. Okay. So after configuring the destination, guys, just check the connection if it is successful or not. If it is successful, it means our work is done. So now what we have to do? So after creating a successful connection between your between your BTP service and your on-premise system, next step is we have to consume that oData service. Okay. So let's go back to now our BS, and now let's create a new app here. Okay. So I will create a new project here. So I'll go with SAP Fiori application, click start. Guys, you can see that, right? Now under the template selection, see application type options are changed now. Earlier we used to have SAP Fiori and SAP Fiori elements and SAP UI5 freestyle. Now see, now we have SAP Fiori and deprecated templates. Looks like SAP Fiori worklist application template is deprecated now. Okay, let's go with SAP Fiori and I'll go with basic now. See, options are completely changed now. This is what happens if you're using a cloud solution. Okay, so updates will be added on runtime and you can see always the change in the template options. Till yesterday, we have this option, but now you can see the options are removed now. I don't have a drop down value called SAP UI5 freestyle. And from that, I was going with a basic UI5 freestyle template. But now it's directly available outside the template option under SAP Fiori. So go with this one, basic, click next. So now this tab plays an important role. What is that tab? Data source and service selection. So under the data source and service selection, we have to select connect to system. Okay, so that is what the option we have to choose. If you want to select a destination from the cockpit. See, so we have a list of the destinations that I have configured in the BTP cockpit. So the destination which I will choose is S4 on-premise one. I'll choose this destination now. Okay, so after choosing this destination, let's hold here. Yeah. Now what it will do, it will load all the oData services which are under that /SAP/path. And you can see the list of services here now. See, all these are oData services which are available. Okay, if I say z oData underscore, yeah, this is what the service that we created, right? Z oData underscore demo underscore service SRV. Just to cross verify, let me just check. Right, this is what the service that we have created. Z oData underscore demo service. And just to check this, I'll just go to the gateway client. Add URI option as $metadata and execute. Okay, so this is the service. So we have a navigation property and as well as PO item. Fine. You can copy this technical service name and you can directly paste. Okay, so this is what the service we have, and you can select that service from the drop down list. And it will check whether that service we can consume or not. Okay, if it is valid, then you can see the next option. So just click on next option. Now you can give a view name as like sorry. Sorry, this is the view name. Just click next. Okay, so I'll give a name as oData underscore. Okay, so this is the module name. Okay, now simply provide the application namespace. You can give it like this. Any name you can give and just click on finish now. Okay, wait. So before we click on finish, I think apart from that, if let's say if you want to deploy this app on, let's say you want to deploy this app on BTP cockpit, sorry, on Cloud Foundry or on ABAP repository, then you can go with this option, add deployment configuration. Okay, if you're adding deployment configuration from here, simply the configuration file will be added. But that's fine. If you're not adding it at the start, that's fine. You can also add it as later. Okay, So it can be added. You can simply add a deployment configuration file by running npm commands. So today we will see like how to create a deployment configuration file and how to deploy this app on our Cloud Foundry runtime. So I'll say no to all the options and let me click on finish now. Okay, so our project is getting created now. Let's wait here.
All the older products are built on Fiori elements, right? Template.
No, 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 no. It's UI5 only, not Fiori elements. For Fiori elements, you definitely need oData service at the start. Then only the projects will be created. Without oData service, you cannot create Fiori elements project. Okay. But for freestyle, for UI5 basic or for freestyle project, yes, you can create the project without oData service at the start. Later on, based on the requirement, right? You can integrate the oData service.
Can you integrate the SORATA services with that freestyle element?
Mm-hmm.
Can we do
Sorry.
that? Can we integrate the SORATA with the freestyle
Yes,
element?
yes. So I'm showing you now. See, as of now, I directly integrated, right? While project creation on while project creation itself, what I did under the source tab, I simply I was able to connect to the system and I have integrated one service as of now in this UI5 freestyle project. Okay, I'll show you like after integrating which folder will be updated, that I will show you. I don't know why it's taking more time today.
And Avik, I guess you missed the history in the routing part.
Hey, right. History part we missed, right? We will cover that today. Yeah. Yeah, I think it's done. Okay. Okay. So this is the project that we have, like within this project, we have integrated one oData service. So guys, when you integrate any oData service while project creation, so where the details are stored, mostly the details are stored inside manifest.json file. Okay, you can open this manifest.json file and under the data source. Okay, so this data sources will be created automatically. And under this data source, you can see one main service, right? And under the main service, can you see the URI? Enter URI of our OData service. Okay, so this is the OData service that we have integrated. Type of that service or resource is OData. And under the settings, like basic things are there, like where the metadata can be stored, what is the OData version of that service, all that details will be added here. And you can also see when you integrate the OData service for the first time or for the second time, whenever you integrate, one more folder explicitly will be created under the web app. What is that? Local service. Okay. So one folder will be created called local service, and under that, there will be one new file called metadata.xml. See, this is what the file which will be loaded or which will be created under the web app folder. And this will have the basic service document details of the service that we integrated. Okay, same. The metadata, like how we want to check the technical details of the service through metadata, right? So you can instead of checking that by running the service, you can simply check from here. Okay, that is the case.
Yeah, Bisa, one question. So it is only for like BSP application related, and not for BSP. It is BAS, right? Not for the web ID. This one.
No, no, web ID also same. See, there is no difference between BS and web ID application wise. The
Yeah.
applications that you're building on web ID, same app you can run as it is on BS.
I mean the
In
local
BS,
service you were saying this one also it will be visible on the web ID as well.
yes, yes. See the
Okay.
structure wise, folder structure wise, like web app, controller, CSS,
Mhm.
everything would be same as it is. There will be no change between web ID project and BS project. So what is newly added in BS? Like node modules. Node modules is newly added. You can see UI file local.yaml file, UI5.yaml file. All these new files are added. But apart from that, web app folder almost it is similar to the web ID. There is no change in that. Even the code that you write, the structure that you write, everything is same. Okay, so no
Yeah.
change in that.
Mhm.
Don't think that in WebID also like there will be a data source or main service. Everything is same. Otherwise again we have to learn this, right? Everything, the project structure and
Yeah.
all.
Yeah, understood. But I mean, like in our current project, we are using this web ID, and I didn't see this, local path actually, local service one. So we'll
No,
have
no,
a
no.
look. Yeah.
This part is there. I'll show you. Like like whenever if you get a time, you can show me your project and I'll show you where this is added. Okay.
Yeah, yeah, sure. So this will interesting.
Yeah. So if it is not added, then definitely like they have integrated some third-party API or they are using Ajax API for that. So there is a Ajax API that you can use through for calling the OData services.
Yeah, I mean, the basic, on manifesto, this is available, but on the left panel, right, that local file, local structure you showed, meta attachment, that was not available actually. I was asking.
It is optional.
Yeah, this.
It is
Oh,
optional,
yeah,
like, but if you're deleting, it will not affect your OData service. Okay,
yeah.
it's
Mhm.
optional. But see how you can use this local service. You can use this local service to check the metadata information of the service. For that, we mostly use.
Mhm. Okay, fine, fine.
Okay. So once the data source is created under this SAP.app, now we have to provide this data source information to the model, right? Then only we can access this. So which model would be there? You can see one model here. Okay. So every time OData model must be a default model in your project. That is what the best practice we follow, not the JSON model. Okay. Don't make any JSON model as a default model. Always make OData as a default model. Okay. And you can see the data source name is main service. And you can't see this type property, right? Type as OData model, but it's internally it's already taken care. You don't have to worry at all for that. Okay. So just by adding data source, preload and setting, I think this model is nothing but it's your OData model itself. Explicitly, we don't have to write or we don't have to mention the type of model as OData here. By default, it is a OData V2 model. Okay. Now let me just run this project and let me show you how to verify the OData service that we have integrated, whether it is working or not for this project. So right click on this project, go to preview application, run this project. I think today the services are slow for BS, looks like. Okay, so guys, like how you can check or how you can test the OData services that we integrated, whether that OData service is running perfectly fine or not for our Fury project. How to check that? Simply go to the network and simply simply filter based on metadata. Okay, So just add a filter for dollar metadata in the filter under the network tab and just reload it once. And you can see one call made that is dollar metadata. OK, and under this dollar metadata, can you see the response? I'm able to read all the data which was available in our on-premise system. And you can see the information of entity type as PO header, PO item, even the entity container which has entity set name. See, so what it means we have successfully consumed oData service in our Fiori application. OK, so at least you got it how to test the oData services. How you can verify? You can verify through the metadata. So if metadata call itself it is failing, then in that case you need to check whether what error you have got for this metadata, whether it is 500 or 400, whatever it is. OK, if it is 500, definitely check whether your system is running or not, like your on-premise system. Make sure to cross check it. If it is running and still if you're not able to consume, then cross verify in your cloud connector. OK, so all this basic the testing and checking we must do. OK, so as of now, I was able to consume this oData service, and for that I can see the metadata call is successful. OK, in the network. So now I can easily consume. I can call any HTTP method in our code to read the data. OK, so now let me go back to the view now and let's write a code in our purchase detail. So this is the content which I added. Now let me add a code for the table. So this is the table. Under that table, we have a columns aggregation, and under the columns, I can have a column control here. OK, so likewise, we can have a multiple columns. So this columns, how I can guess? So I think local service is already available with us. So I can open this metadata.xml, or from here, like I can directly open the metadata.xml file. See, this URL is already there. You can double click on this and just open it in the new tab. See now, it is the service which is running in the browser and you can see the call. OK, so any details you want to access, you can easily get. So so now let's add a couple of columns here. So I'll go with the column for EBLN. So that is, I'll add a label. Let's add a company code. Next is OK, that's it. So let's pass all these details now. And now what we have to do, our columns are created and you can see the column here, right? So at least our table columns are created. Now what we have to do, we have to create an items aggregation for this table. So under the items, we must need column list item. And inside the column list item, what we need? Cells. So I'll add a couple of text fields. Now let me perform the binding. Okay. So guys, there are two ways to read the data from the entity that we have defined, right? So what is the entity set for reading the header data? Entity set name is PO header set, right? Always refer to entity set, not entity type when we want to actually read the data. So to read the data from the entity set, we have to use or we have to define this PO header set in our table. So to read the data from this service or from this entity set, there are two ways. Like you can directly define an absolute path in the XML code, and then from that a call will be made directly to the service. Or the next way is within a controller, you can write the code for that. Okay, so there are two ways to make a call to the oData service. One is through the XML and second way is through the controller. So first way we will see through the XML and next way through the controller. So through XML, I will perform all this. Wait, I'll just add all this. Okay, so now I will add here items. Now under this item, which entity set I want to call? The entity set name is PO header set. You copy that. Okay, now simply add slash and just provide the name of that entity set. That's it. Okay, and similarly, you just provide the name of the fields which we added. BOKRS can provide PS type, document type. The last is created on. Okay, so what I did, I just binded the entity set name. And as our model, see the model which we used as of now, it's a oData model, right? And that model is a default model. But let's say if there is a name to that model, then it is required or it is mandatory to provide the model name in this place. But as model name is already missing, so it's a default model. So in that case, you don't need any model name here. Okay, you can directly provide the absolute path and the name of the entity set, and you can directly bind the fields. That's it. See, can you see the output now here? I'm able to read all the records from that table, from that database table through the entity set. Can you see the output now? So I'll show you in network how the call is made. So just reload this app. At the last, there will be one service with the dollar badge. Okay, can you see one call here, dollar badge? Okay, so whenever guys, if you're making any call to the oData service from the application, the mostly the requests are identified through dollar badge. Okay, any request which is made, you can see dollar badge as the text which will be highlighted in the network call. Okay, when we go to the payload, you can see the HTTP method type. So which HTTP method we called here, type here, get. So to read the data, which HTTP method we choose, get. So get is the HTTP method. What is the entity set name? Entity set name is PO header set slash dollar count, and then there is a SAP client 800. This is automatically it will be added, guys. You don't have to worry at all. Okay. But you can see the this details under the payload. Okay. So for every service, the XSCRF token will be passed for this. So as of now, there are two calls which are being made. Okay, one is dollar count and second one is, see, first one will read the exact total number of records. Like you can see it will read the total count, like how many records are there. And second call, the second call will be made for getting the actual content. And you can see this records, all the records. Okay. So now how to check these records? Just double or triple click on this. It will select the entire row, copy that, go back to the console, clear this console and paste here and just enter. So if you enter, you can see this payload object. Can you see this payload? D colon, inside that there is an object and inside D there is results, and under the results there are array of object records. See? So did I write any explicit code like dollar format equal to JSON to get this data in a JSON format? Guys, did I write anywhere? No, right? Okay, this is how, like, mostly in UI5 application, if you're going with oData model, it is taken care internal. You don't have to add any code for this. Okay, by default, the call which are made, it will read the data in the JSON format. And within the JSON format, this is what the data we have for that. Everything will be in the JSON format. And you can see that. Okay, so this is the data. So which call we made? We made a get call. What we did to make a get call? How we read? How we are able to read the data? Just by simply adding slash entity set name. And below we just added the field names. So there is no model name because the oData model is a default model. Okay, but let's say if we provide the name to the model, then definitely we have to prefix model name in front of each and every the binding that we do. Okay, even this item level binding also we have to prefix the model name. Okay, so this is the first way to call the service. And when we make a call to the service, $batch is what the call you can see in the network. And then whenever you want to check like what type of method it called and what is the HTTP method and which service it called, you can see that details in payload. Under the payload, you can see this type as a get, which is a HTTP method, and there is an entity set name followed by count. So guys, whenever you integrate a oData service by default, and when you are making a call from this XML, right, automatically the $count call will be made, and at the same time, one more call will be made by adding $skip equal to 0 and $top equal to 100. So did we add this $skip equal to 0 and $top equal to 100, guys? We have not added this, right? But how it is added? It is added because we have binded the entity set, or we have directly binded the path of entity set in the XML code. So when you bind any entity set directly to the table, and as that model is a default, so directly the call is made. And within that call, that's a default behavior. It will pass $skip and $top with some predefined values. Okay, but let's say the same call, if you're making it through the controller. So when you make a same call through the controller code, so from that, you won't see this $skip and $top will be, it won't be passed as a default parameter. We have to pass this parameter explicitly. Okay, but when you bind this directly to the table, in that case, automatically this call will be made. Okay, now let's see how we can see or how we can work on the pagination concept. Okay, already the pagination is working. That's why it's pulling or it's fetching starting 100 records. But as of now, there are only 12 records. But let's say initial 5 records I want to fetch. And if user is clicking on more option, then I have to fetch next 5 records. So how you can achieve that? So you can just add a couple of properties here. Sorry for that. So just add growing equal to true. So just add growing equal to true. After that, just add one more property growing threshold as 5 records. Okay. So when I add this growing equal to true and growing threshold equal to 5. So what it will do, it will read initial 5 records. Okay, I'll show you now. Wait. Okay, so how many records are there in this? 5 records are there, right? Now let's scroll down and let's see the output in dollar batch. So first call is made for dollar count and next call is made for, see how many records are there now? Dollar skip equal to 0 and dollar top equal to 5. So how this is passed? This is passed based on the growing threshold. Now you got it, guys. How to handle this through the XML code?
So, Abhi, I mean, yeah. So this is for the aim table. For the UI table also same properties.
Yes, yes, yes. For UI table also this property is there. Okay. Only the properties might change. The name of the property might change for the UI table. Okay. But yes, definitely the this pagination will work for UI table also. Okay. So just add growing threshold. Now see one call is made which will read initial 5 records, right? That will read initial 5 records, but when the count is made, when the dollar count is made, for that you can see the total count, right? So total count is 12 here. Okay, now see, I'm just going to clear this. Now when I click on next or when I click on this more option, one more call will be made. See now. Sorry. See, is it making one more call? Okay, see, now it's reading next 5 records. And when we go to this dollar batch, when we go to the payload, so can you see here SAP client equal to 800 skip equal to 5 and dollar top equal to 5. Now it skipped initial 5 records and it loaded next 5 records because initial 5 records are already available in the table. So that is not required to be fetched. So it skipped the initial 5 record. Now it's loading next 5 records. You got this right? How it is handling, guys? So it's taken care by the framework itself. You don't have to do anything for this.
How can we display below that? Like if you click on more, like it will show after.
How we need to?
It is showing all 10 records, huh?
Yeah, now it's showing 10 records. Initially it was showing 5. When we click on more, it loaded next 5 records. So now the total records are 10.
Okay, got it.
Okay. So only 2 records are left. So if we click on that, next 2 records will be loaded. See? Now you can see the details here. See, dollar skip equal to 10 and dollar top equal to 2 because only 2 records are left. So normally what is the default, like how much in real time project, how much we maintain as a growing threshold? We maintain like 100 or 500. Okay, maximum 500 or 1000 we can maintain the growing threshold. Okay, but I think 500 would be enough for the growing threshold. Okay, so through this we are able to read the records. Now let's see how to pass a filter here. So to pass a filter within this XML code, how you can pass? So you can simply define this entity set name under a path property in a single quotes. Then you simply add a filters. Okay, you specify square brackets. And now here first we have to provide the path. So what is a path here? Which property we have to filter? Like you can keep a filter according to wait. I think I'll just make a call here. Okay. So let's say we want to make a call based on status. I think we can go with status or BS. Okay, let's go with BSART. Okay, so I'll add with BSART filter. So I'll say path is filter and then give operator as EQ. Then inside the value one, you just give as NB. Okay. Now let's see what it does. So I added one filter, guys, directly in the XML code. See, it's reading only NB records. So there are 11 records for that. Okay. Now the filter is being applied based on document type, that is NB. Let's say I want to apply based on category. Then what is a field for the category? I think it's BS type. Okay, so I'll say the category as F.
That value one means only that it will give that only one value, right?
No. See, filters mostly, if you're applying a filter, there mostly for the filter there is value one and value two. Why there is value one and value two? Because let's say if you want to apply a filter like in between, okay, you need a records starting with a current month number, like from date 1 to date 20 or something. Okay, for that month. So you can simply provide it in value one, you can provide the starting date, and in value two, you can provide the ending date. And accordingly, the data will be filtered out. So for that purpose, only value one and value two is there. Okay.
Okay.
So for that only they have added value one and value two. So within a single filter, you can pass two values and you can provide an operator as between. So as of now, the value two, we don't need. We don't have to provide. So that's why I went with only value one. Mostly we go with value one, but in some rare cases, when you want to apply a filter in between, or for that only we just, you can give comma and you can add one more like value two, and then accordingly the data will be filtered out. Okay. So I pass the filter directly in the URL and you can see the data is getting filtered out. And if you reload this, I'll show that in network call as well. You can go to the network. See, $1 batch call is made. And when we go to the payload, you can see a filter here. Okay. So count is made for that filter, like how many records are for that category F. First, it will make a call for that dollar count. And second, you can see it will read the data for actual filter. See, dollar and dollar filter equal to BS type equal to F. That is what the value we pass. And accordingly, we receive the data. So there are 10 records for the BS type F. Okay. And you can see the results of all the records. So how you can copy this? Just double or triple click on this row. It will select the entire row, copy, and then from that go to the console and you can paste that. Okay. So guys, any questions in this? Guys, any questions?
No, not from my side. Any error in XML? Why it is showing
Okay.
like that?
So let's, yeah.
Any error in XML? It's showing some error.
Yeah, you can just ignore this, guys. I think there is a problem with BS. I don't know, like, see, it's already giving, right? That it is a control, but still it's highlighting as an error. I don't know why. See that problem also, like, okay, so there is no ID. That's why it's giving. That's why it's giving. See, if I say generate IDs for entire file, okay, everywhere the IDs will be added, and you can see it is gone now, right? That error is because of the ID. If I'm not providing any ID, then it's giving the error, but that's optional, guys. You can ignore that. Okay. Fine. So let's take a 10 minutes break here. We'll continue at 10:13. Now it's 10:03. Guys, can we start now? Hello, shall we continue?
Yes.
Yeah, we can.
Fine. Yeah. So let's see now how the same way we can achieve through the controller. Okay. So far, like we are able to make a read call through XML code. Okay, but the same code will not work in case of controller. So for controller, we have to stick with the methods. So there are a couple of methods which are available for OData model. Through those methods only we can make this call. We can make this HTTP calls. Okay. So normally, what are those methods through which we can make that call? So let me first open the controller file. Yeah. Okay. So how it is done in real-time projects? See, in real-time projects, yes, we go with this binding also. Mostly we do this for reading the data. But see, when you directly append the URL, okay, when you append a URL to this absolute URL, definitely a call will be made, right? You cannot control this call. Can you control that? Is there any button through which we can control this call? No, right? As soon as the application loads, automatically the call is made. A call is made to read the data for this table. Okay. But the best way what we can do, we can even read the data through the controller if you want. So just go back to the controller here and let's see how to write the code. So to make a get HTTP call, so in SAP UI5, especially for the OData model, there is a method which I will explain. Just search for OData model. Okay. And what is that method which will trigger the read call, which will trigger the get call? For that, the method is read. Okay. So read is the method of OData model, which HTTP method it will trigger? It will trigger a get request to OData service. Okay. It will trigger the get request to OData service. The HTTP method for that is get, but in OData model, which method will trigger get HTTP method? Read. Okay. So we have to read or we have to call this read method to trigger a get as a HTTP request. And in this read method, it generally takes two parameters. One is the path. Okay, it takes the path, and second is the m parameters. So what is the path here? Path is nothing but we have to provide the path of entity set. And second is the m parameter. In m parameter is nothing but it is an object in which you can pass like $top, $skip in URL parameters. You can pass filters, you can pass sorters, and after that to receive the data, right? So that whenever this call is successful, so for that there is a function that is a callback function called success. And similarly, there is an error callback function. So these two functions are depend on the outcome. Okay, if the service is successful, right? If the service is successful, then in that case, callback function will trigger. And if the service is failed, then in that case, callback function will not trigger. So this is the basic concept of OData model. Hello.
Hi, Vic. It was disconnected for a few seconds.
Yeah, 1 second. Just yeah. Can you see my screen now, guys?
Yes.
Okay. I think it was disconnected for a couple of seconds. Yeah. Yeah. So in this object, right? So I'm talking about the m parameter, which is a second parameter for this read method. So within the second parameter, you can pass the URL parameters, we can pass filters, sorter, and success. All these are basic stuff. Even the error and batch group ID is there. So all these are like a basic methods which are required or the properties which are you can configure before you call the service, right? but mostly which properties we use in a real-time project? We mostly stick with the URL parameters, filters, sorter, success, and error. This is the highly used properties, like almost like every time we require these properties. Okay. Other properties like context, group ID, badge group ID, update aggregation, all these are optional. You don't have, we don't need this. Okay. Now let's go back here. Now I'll just now let's see how we can make a call. So what I will do here, I'll create one function, this dot on read data. Okay. So what it will do, this function will read the data. Okay, it will read the data from the service. And why I'm creating a separate function, I think it will be better, right, to handle this. That's why I'm creating a separate function. And this function I also need, like, let's say if I'm reading, if I'm updating some records. So again, I want to pull latest records. So for that also I can reuse this function. So I'm creating a common function which can read the data every time from the entity set, from PO header set. Okay. Okay. So to make a read call, first of all, we have to get instance of oData model. So to get an instance of oData model, I'll write var oData model equal to new, sorry, not new, this dot get owner component dot get model. Okay, as our model is a default model, then we don't model name is required here, guys.
No.
Yes, not required. So from that oData model, you can simply call dot read. Okay, and now inside read, there are two parameters, right? First is the path. So what is the S path here? So what is the S path? S path is nothing but it is an absolute path. So when I say absolute path, guys, the slash will be available within a path. When I say relative path, okay, so there are two types of path, an absolute path or a relative path. Okay, so there is a difference between absolute and relative. When I say absolute, definitely slash will be available or will be present in that path. And when I say relative, the path will not have slash available or present in that path. Okay, so we have to provide absolute path. So definitely give double quotes slash and entity set name. Okay, just copy that entity set and just paste here. Now what is the next step? What is the next parameter in this? It is a M parameter, which is a type of object. So I'll define an object here. Okay, now inside the object, I'll simply add success and error callback function. Okay, success and error, both are functions. You can see the type here. It is a function. Okay, and both are callback function. So what is a callback function? Callback function means a function which will trigger according to the response. Like for example, this success callback function, when it will execute if the service is successful. If service is successfully able to fetch the data at that time, it will trigger success. But if unfortunately due to some server issue, if service is failing, in that case, instead of triggering success, it will trigger error callback function. Okay, that's why these callback functions are defined here. Okay, so I'll simply add a success here. So it is a function, and this function will always receive a response. Okay, if service is successful, it will read the data, and that data you can get it from this response. And similarly, there is a error. Okay, so from here now I'll just add a debugger keyword here so that we can put a breakpoint. Okay, so I'll just keep my inspect tab open. and automatically the call will be made. See, now we have a breakpoint. So can you see a breakpoint here? So we got a breakpoint. So as our service was successful, so there are two batch call. First $batch for because we have directly binded the entity set to the table. So that call is already been made. And there is a one more call. So this call is happening. This call is happening because we have added this code inside the table. Yeah, guys, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So that is a read call. Now you can see, yes, now we added a debugger and we have a breakpoint at line number 18, okay, which is inside the success. So when I hover on this response, see this response will carry the data in this structure. Inside the response, we will have an object, and inside that object, we will have results. And results is nothing but it is array of 12 records. See, this is how the data we will receive. But when we go to the network, okay, when we go to the network, in network, the output would be different. Okay, in network, the output would be different. See, in network, when we go, we mostly receive the results inside the D. There is a D property, and inside D there is results, and inside the result there is an array. That is how the data we receive, and we can see that in network. But in actual, when we get the response in the success callback, this is how it will be the structure. There will be no D. Instead of that, directly there will be object, and inside object there is results, and inside result there is an array of 12 records. Okay. Fine now, guys. So at least you got it how to read the data.
Yeah, Vic, again one question. So in the function you have mentioned over responsive on the object, it is the only object we can mention, or is there any other, we can add it
No,
in the
mostly
success?
like this success will carry only one function. Okay, it will carry only one parameter, I would say. Two parameters are not required. See, the handler can have following parameters, oData and response. So response we already have. So you can add one more parameter, and let's see like what output we can receive if we add one more parameter. So you can give any name, guys, to this. Okay, there is no problem with that. You can give any name to the parameters. Okay, let's give one more try and let's see like apart from the response what it carries. See, in oData we mostly have a details of like the data as well as what it is carrying, what is a header. Mostly you will have these details. Like service related technical details will be available in the second parameter. Okay. So first is the body, the data which will be in like the actual data. And next is the data you can see in the JSON format. After that, the header part of the service, like what type of service, what type of data it is carrying, the total length of that. Okay, all these details will be there. Okay.
Yes.
Even you can
Okay.
see we are getting the details of status code, status text, other details. But we don't need these details, guys. If you ask
Yeah,
me, we
I
don't
mean,
need.
let's say, based on success, we have to show, something, okay, message or
Mhm.
something. So in that case, I
Yeah,
think
yeah, yeah.
oData is
What you
required.
can do, yes, for a couple of things, like you can check the response length as well. Like if response length is greater than one, definitely there is a record inside the response. If length is zero, definitely there is no response. So in that case, you can avoid the remaining code to be executed, right? You can simply avoid that. Okay, so after reading the data, how to pass a filter, you already know that you can simply add one more property above the success, that is filters. Similarly, you can add sorter and you can add URL parameters in which you can pass $skip, $top, even expand. Okay, as we created a service for expand, right, in which we are able to read multiple records. Same thing we can do here if you want. Okay, so let me do one thing now. So I'm going to comment this table code. I'll copy this and now let's handle this table through the controller. Okay, so now what I will do here, I'll remove this parameter from here. Okay, so from here we can provide the model name. Okay, see, now I'm going to directly bind JSON model to this table, not oData model. In about table, we have directly binded the oData model. But now this time we will bind a JSON model. Okay, so to bind a JSON model, definitely we need a JSON model here, right? So I'm creating a model here. So I'll create a model where JSON model equal to, I'll say new. Okay, this is my model. And now already there is a function inside the function. So we have to do bind this. Okay, bind this is must. I'll remove this debugger keyword we don't need. Okay, now in this, the data that we will receive, right? So we will bind that data to this JSON model. So I'll receive the data in oResponse.results. So I'll say this dot, I'm setting this model on the view level, this dot get view dot set model. And inside that, see, before I set this model, I'll get the JSON model. Inside the function, I'll say dot set data. Set data, it is a method of JSON model. And in that, which data I want to pass, I'll say oResponse.results. Okay, or instead of set data, I can also write set property. Okay, I'll set new property. I'll say like PO data. That is the property which will carry the response. Okay, and now this JSON model, I'll set it on the view. And what is the name of model? It is like a PO JSON model. Okay, so what I did, I basically created one JSON model, and when the success callback function triggered, at that time I updated this model with the data that I'm getting in the results array. Okay, and then that is appended to this PO data, which is a new property which I have introduced in the JSON model. Okay, and now after that, I simply kept this model on the view level by using set model. Okay, now to bind this model, I can simply copy this model name, and I will use this model name greater than sign slash. And what is the property name in which data is available? PO data. Okay, this is the basic syntax. And now just copy this, go down wherever the fields are there, you can just prefix with the model name. And still you will see the same data. Okay, now yeah, after reloading, you can see the data now. See, you can see because already there is this one we added, right? Growing threshold. That's why we can see that. But now the problem is when we reload this app, okay? you can see a blank page for at least couple of seconds, right? And user don't know whether the data is loading or not. See, this is a blank page. What you can do in this case to avoid this blank page, we can introduce BAS indicator. Okay, looks like there is an error. No, no, I'm not sure. There is no error and even, okay, let me reload this one more time. Okay, so always we should add a BAS indicator. Okay, see, guys, there is an issue with the server. You can see here. Can you see dollar metadata call? It's still in the pending state. Looks like there is a the server is slow. That's why it's taking more time here. Okay. So in this case, what you can do, we can introduce busy indicator. Okay, we can add a busy indicator. So to add a busy indicator, which control you must use for that? Go to the samples. There is a control like busy dialog. Okay. So this is a control which you can add or you can introduce. So I'm going to use this control. You go to API reference, and this is how you can define a busy dialog. Okay, you can go here. So I'll add it after JSON model declaration. I'll say O busy dialog equal to new. Okay, busy dialog. And inside busy dialog, you can introduce or you can add a couple of properties like you can add a title. Loading data. You can add a text. You can add a text as please wait. Okay, even you can introduce some icon if you want. And there is a title alignment. You whether you want the title to be on start or in the center or at the end. So that is also possible through the title alignment. You can even display the cancel button if that base indicator is not closing. So guys, one more thing I'm going to add here. I'm going to add a custom icon in that. Okay, so I'll introduce one new property called custom icon. Okay, so I'm going to download one loading icons. Okay, so you can use any icons from this, but it all depends whether your customer needs it or not. Okay, it all depends. So let's say I need this icon. Okay, I'm going to use this one. Looks like this is an animated one. We don't want animated one. See, all these are loading icons, guys. You can go with any one. Okay, let's say you want to go with this one. Okay, I'll just download this icon now. And I will upload this or I will import this to the project. I'll go with 64px and I'll go with free download. Okay, so the icon is there. I'll directly upload this in CSS folder. Okay, you can see that I've added this icon here. Okay, and the icon type is PNG. And now I'll provide a path here. Path, I'll copy the custom icon. I'll say dot slash CSS slash loading dot PNG. Okay, and then let's say you want the rotation to be fast for this. So for that also there is one property, custom icon rotation speed. So you can define a rotation speed here for that image, and accordingly it will rotate. Okay. So now after defining the basic setup, now we will open this busy dialog. Okay. And when we want to close this busy dialog, if there is an error and if there is a success, it must be closed. Okay, that's it. Now you can see the busy dialog. See, guys, have you seen that?
Yeah.
Okay, one more time I'll show that. So you can introduce, you can add your own custom busy dialog, and then through that, at least your look and feel of application will increase definitely based on that. Okay. Yeah. So this is how you can set up the busy dialog. But the main purpose of busy dialog is at least it will not, at least user will know like application is still loading. Okay. He will not think that there is a bug in the app and there is a problem or issue with the app. He will not think in that way. Okay. Now to add a filter within this get, so there is a filters. So there is a filters, and similarly there is a sorter also. So I'm not passing any sorter here, but apart from that, I'll show you how to pass dollar top, dollar skip, and even dollar expand. Okay. Now to pass a filter, yes, we definitely need a filter array, a filter constructor. Pass the path here. I think we can go with the same filter that we added on the top, BS type. Give comma here. You can go with operator. Select this operator as EQ, and then you can add value 1. You can say it as F. So this is my filter. You can copy this filter variable and you pass it here directly. That's it. Now, once it is done, we can see the filter will be passed in the network call. Okay, so in the filter, in the payload, yes, can you see the filter here? BS type EQF. Okay, it is passed now in the filter. Now, what is the next step? Next step is we have to pass dollar skip and dollar top. Okay, so for that, what we can do, we can add URL parameter. So there is a property called oData model read call. Under the read m parameters, there is a URL parameter. And what is the type of this URL parameter? It is in object format. Okay, remember that it is in object format. So we have to add object like this. And now inside that you can pass, like, let's say we want to pass dollar skip. So I'm saying dollar skip equal to 0, comma, I'll say top, dollar top equal to 5. Okay, this is I want to specify this values. Let's see if this dollar skip equal to 0 and dollar top equal to 5 is passed or not. So can you see now here? Dollar skip equal to 0 and dollar top equal to 5. It's getting passed in the table, in the URL. Okay. So when you add a dollar skip and dollar top in the URL pattern, parameter, automatically it will be passed. But now let's say at the same time, we want to read the data for PO items. As of now, guys, the data which I'm receiving, it's not reading the data from the navigation property. Okay, because for that we implemented which one? Which one? Get expanded entity set. Okay, so that method is not getting called. Why? Because we have not added, or we have not added $expand equal to the navigation property name. Okay, so to read a data for this navigation property, we have to pass this name of the navigation property inside the $expand. Okay, then only the data will be available for this property. For any record you check, PO entry item nav will be blank. There will be no data for PO entry nav. See, it's not there. So to read a data for that navigation property, I'll just copy the property name, navigation property name. And now here you can simply add $expand. $expand equal to, in double quotes, you can pass the navigation property. Okay, that's it. Now, once it reads the data, you will see now the data it's reading for the navigation property also. Okay, so I'll copy these records. I'll clear the network call. I'll clear the console. I'll paste here. See now, for PO entry item now, for first there is no records. Let's check for the other. No records. Yeah. So for the third record, for BS ART okay, for BUKRS 0001, for that you can see there are 4 records for PO entry now, and these are the 4 records that we are able to read. See. Okay, guys, at least you got it how to read the data from the front end application for the navigation property. What we have to do for that, we must pass $expand. Okay, $expand is the only option that we must pass under the URL parameters object. Then only it will read the data. But in future, like in real-time project, for a single entity set, there can be multiple navigation properties. Okay, as of now, we have added only one property, so we are able to read. But what about reading data from 2 navigation properties at the same time? So if there is one more navigation property and then through which you want to read the data, you can simply give comma and you can provide the navigation property name. Okay, so just give comma inside that and just provide one more name for the navigation property. So likewise, it can read the data from multiple navigations based on the properties or the values that you defined under this $expand. Okay. So as of now, I defined only one, so it's reading the data from one. But if there is one more, just give comma and you can add that navigation property. So guys, any questions? Is it clear at least from the controller side?
Yeah, a big one question actually. So let's say we get the response, on the JSON format, and we want to change that, once we get the response, we want to change, let's say second record, third record. So can we achieve that actually?
But why we need, first of all? See, first of all, the requirement is like always, we must read the data in JSON format. XML is not a recommended way. As of now, oData service provides only 2 type of data formats. One is XML, second is JSON. And JSON is the recommended way because the size of JSON data is very less as compared to the XML. And it's more readable as compared to the XML. Okay, so see, in real time, so far my experience goes, we never converted the JSON data in XML format in front end application.
Yeah, I mean, my question is, like not on the XML, actually on the JSON format. Let's say we got the response on the JSON format. Okay, and from the unique properties, we want to edit, property.
Okay, so you want to modify the data, right?
Modify the data. Yeah.
You can do that. You can do that. What you can do, you can simply write a code in this place. Okay, before you append that data to the model, First you can make some basic modification on the properties, and after that you can append the data to the model. Okay. So already like which methods you can use, you can use any array methods like map, filter, all these methods you can use. As you can also use like for loop, for each, for in loop. Okay. Any data that any property that you want to modify, you can do that easily.
Okay. Okay. Yeah.
So modify the data, and after that you simply append that data in this property. That's it. So the data which is available, so that will be a modified version. Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah. So now let's move to the next. Now let's see how to update the record, how to delete the records. So all these three functions like create, update, and delete. These three operations we will perform now quickly. And once that is done, so our CRUD operation will be completed. Okay. And then once the CRUD operation is done, so today, like guys, our session might extend till 11:30 or till 12. Okay. So I'll give break if required in between. That will be fine. Yeah. So after reading the data by passing all the parameter, now let's see if user want to delete any record. Okay, if let's say if user want to delete any record, how you can delete in basically from UI5 application, which is the method that we have to trigger to delete a record. So first of all, within this table, I will add one. I'll add one more column in which we can pass a delete as a icon. Okay, so I'll introduce one more column here. So I'll add a column type as action, and now here I'll just add. Sorry, I'll add a button. Okay, so for button, I'll just add icon. Icon that I need is delete icon. Okay, so in SAP icons, you can search for delete. And this is the icon for delete. I'll copy the delete icon and I'll paste it here. Okay, now after that, I'll add a press event on delete record. Okay. And the type of this button must be in red. So if you want that, I'll just provide a type, and there can be different type. So I'll say it as a reject. So the color of the button will change. Okay, in red color. Yeah. Can you see now delete icon here? Yes. So we have a delete here. So when we click on any delete, we should directly not delete the record. At least we must provide a confirmation pop-up, a confirmation dialog in which user can think about whether he want to proceed with deletion or not, right? Guys, so that is a best practice. We should never provide a delete, and we should never delete a direct record. Always there must be a confirmation for that. Okay, that is a required step. Always. 1 second, guys. Okay. So now what we can do here, now we have to design a delete pop-up here, right? So we have to design a confirmation pop-up. So to design a confirmation pop-up based on this delete click, so there is a control called, wait, okay. So there is a control called message box. Okay. So inside the message box, if you see, there is a confirm pop-up here. See? So this type of pop-up we have to design. Okay. So and then we can provide a option, we can provide a description, and then it based on user, like whether you want to proceed or not. Okay. So to design this pop-up, definitely you can refer the source code if you want, or otherwise, yeah, see, this is the confirmation pop-up for that. Okay. So let's add a code here for the confirmation. So wait, I'll just add a. So where it is triggering that event also we need, because we want to get that line number also, right? Because for deletion we need a key values like SR number and what we need, company code, sorry, PO number at the same time. So when we need these details, then only we can delete. Okay, now here what we can add first of all, yes, we can get the record, but wait, I'll design this confirmation pop-up once. I'll add message box on the top. So I'll say message box dot confirm. And now inside a confirm, let's go back to the API reference. Okay, so this is the confirm that you can design. You can add a title. Okay, and this message would come inside that. Okay, and yeah, on close is the event, and after that there is an action which has OK and cancel. So now we need just this few properties. I'll just copy this and I'll paste it here. Okay, so from here, style class we don't need. You can remove the style class. Okay, so action is like to display two buttons in the message box. For that, it is a part of action, that is OK and cancel. And then to highlight that OK button in blue color, so for that there is a emphasize action. And on close is nothing but it is a function which will trigger if user is clicking on OK or cancel. And this on close will always receive a action. What type of action user has chosen, whether it is OK or cancel. And accordingly you can take the action. Okay. So if action, okay, if s action is triple equal to OK, so in that case I'll call one function, that is this dot on delete record. Okay, this function I will call, and in this function we need a details like some couple of details we need, like line number, the PO number and SR number for deletion, because that are key fields for deletion, right? So accordingly we need to pass a key fields. If else, nothing will happen. Okay, based on cancel, nothing will happen. Okay, so I'll say here um So we need two details. One is context. Get shows dot get binding context. And there is no name. Okay, so there is a name for model. So we have to provide model name dot get object. And we will pass this object information to this method. Okay, and as already it is inside the function, so I'll do bind this. Now we have to add this function, and that function, what it will receive uh o record which we have to delete. Okay, and for deletion, I think same thing we can do. We need a oData model. Okay, after that we need a create. Okay, so we'll copy this for a while and I'll remove some couple of code from here. Success we don't need, so I will delete that. Sorry. The filters URL parameters we don't need, but success we need. Okay, so busy dialog also we required. So we will add this busy dialog here. Now I'll add deleting record. Please wait. And that is a custom icon. And that busy dialog will be closed. So once busy dialog is closed, after that, again, I have to call one more service, which will again read the latest records. So for that, I'll copy the function that we created on the top on read data. Okay, again, it will read the data. Okay, now for delete, guys, how to get the, first of all, what should be the URL for the delete and what should be the method that we have to call for oData model. So for oData model, for deleting any record, there is a method called remove. Okay, so which method it is? Remove. Using remove method, it will trigger a delete as a HTTP request. Rest all parameters are almost same. Okay, so we have to remove. We have to call remove method. Entity set name we have to provide, but apart from entity set name, we have to pass two key parameters. Because when we look at the PO header set, what are the key parameters for the PO header set?
PO number.
Yes, PO number and SR number. So these are two key parameters. So we have to pass these details. Okay, so I will put a breakpoint now. So while deletion, see, first of all, let's see whether pop-up is opening or not. See, we got the pop-up here. Are you sure you want to delete this record? So if I say yes, then only that on delete record will be called. Okay, so if I say cancel, nothing will happen. Okay, so I'll go to inspect now. I'll go to source. Let me scroll down. Yeah, now here I'll put a breakpoint here. Okay, because we need a context, right? And you can see in O context, we have the object. Clicked object we got from that. And then from that, what we need, we just need SR number and we need EBLN number. That is what the details we need. Okay, and this details we store it in O context and we pass that O context to this O delete on delete specific record function. So in on record, we will have this details of the context. So when we go here, okay, when we say OK, now it will call this function and you can see this O record, which will have that SR number and EBLN. Okay, the entire object it has. Now from here, how I need to prepare the record. See, if I paste here, this is what the data I need. And then it needs SR number. So I'll copy this SR number. You can pass here bracket like this. You can give plus. I'll pass SR number equal to SR number as it is a number. So I think you can simply say on record dot SR number because already it is an object. Okay, so I'm passing first SR number. Next step, what it should be. Again, there should be okay, I must give comma here. See, we have to follow the same syntax. And what is that syntax? You can get it in metadata. Okay, this is how we need to pass. Okay, so next parameter is EBLN. EBLN. Now in this EBLN, you can simply give equal to sign, and after that you can give plus. Okay, but see this EBLN value, it is a string value, then it must be passed in single quotes. So I'm passing one single quote, give plus. Okay, now here I will pass record dot EBLN. That's it. Okay, record dot EBLN, record dot SR number. Okay, so we have not added SR number in single quote because it is number, but for EBLN we must pass a single quote, and you can see that I have passed here single quote in both the places. Okay, and now this is what the URL we have to define for deletion of record. That's it. Okay, so let's reload now. So I'll clear. Now let's say we want to delete this first record, which has like 12, company code is 1 and document type is NC for that. Okay, and category is A. So when we click on this delete, so it will come here, it will get the basic record and it will open the pop-up. And now I'll put a breakpoint directly here and I'll say OK. So when you say OK, see, it will check for action, guys. In S action, I will receive OK. That's why it's triggering this function. OK, so in on close function, it will always there will be only one parameter for on close function, that is S action. So this S action will receive the action in the string format, that is OK or cancel. OK, only button name it will receive, cancel or OK. So I'm receiving OK, so that's why this function will be called. OK, so it will get the record. And now see how the URL is getting created. You can copy this entirely and you can paste here. See how I define the URL. You can see here /PO header set followed by SR number equal to 3, EBLN equal to in single quotes. I'm passing the PO number. That's it. This is how my URL must create. OK, this is how my URL should look in case of create and update. OK, only for create and update we have to pass this URL. But for reading the data, I think we don't need to pass this URL in this way. OK, for reading and for creating the records. So now it will directly go to the success. OK, yeah. So it directly went to the success. And even in network call, if you go in payload, if you see which method it triggered, which HTTP method it triggered, delete. And then this is the URL for deletion. OK, that's it. So as it went to the success, it means the record is already deleted in the backend. And you see, again, it will read the data and you can see that data is gone now. So can you see a category with A and document type as NB or NC? You can't see, right? Because that record is deleted now. OK. Now let's say if you want to delete one more this PO number, which is ending with 12, again, you can click on this and I'm saying OK. So that record will be deleted. See, that's it. It is gone now. Can you see that record here, guys? OK, you got it right. How to delete the record?
Yeah.
Okay, that's it. So this is about delete. Now let's move to update. So update, guys, no change, only instead of remove, you give it as update. That's it. But for update, we must pass payload, right? Because at the end for update and create, payload must be passed. Like the updated information should be passed to the user. So I'm going to give one simple example here. So now update is it's little bit confusing now. So to update any record, what we must do, like we must get the details, desired details as it is, and we can simply pass these details in to the backend for updation purpose, right? So we can do that easily. So to update any record from here, like what I will do, like I'll add one more button in the XML, but before I define, I'll add one edge box container. And inside this edge box, I can add two buttons so that both the buttons will be aligned in the same line. So it should be like update. For that, I think type we don't need for update. And icon, yes, we icon is like edit. So I'll use this icon. Can okay. So yeah, now we should see one icon with delete. Sorry, edit. But there is no space in between the icons. So I'll go with one standard CSS class. I'll add class equal to, I'll say SAPUI tiny margin end. Okay, so I'm adding a little bit of space at the end of this delete button through the standard CSS class, that is SAPUI tiny margin end. See now, I got the space. Okay, so if you want to find the list of the standard CSS classes, you can go to the documentation. You can search for margin and padding, and you can see this list using predefined CSS margin classes under the working with controls. And there are a list of CSS classes. See, all these are CSS classes which you can apply based on the space that you want to add, like tiny, small, medium, or large. Okay. Even you can add a responsive margin. Okay, if you want, you can add that also if you want. See, SAP UI responsive margin class also you can introduce, through which like everywhere the responsive padding will be added from all the four sides. Okay, that's it. So yeah, now my edit icon is there. So when we click on any record, what will happen on this case? We should open one pop-up, and in that pop-up, I'll just display this details in one fragment. Okay, in dialog box. And when user is clicking on save, so when the user is updating all the fields and when he's clicking on save, what will happen at that time? This details will be modified. Okay, this detail should be modified. Yeah, so let's go back now. Now let me show you how to do that. So first of all, we have to open. First of all, we have to open the dialog box. Okay, so we need a one separate fragment folder. Okay, that is a fragment file which I'm going to create, and it already has a fragment definition. So we just need one simple form. Not simple form. First, we need a dialog box. And inside the dialog, we can add one simple form. So can add XML. Yeah, this is what the library we need. And we need simple form for that. Inside that, we can add a label. So for which details we need a label? I think we don't need a label for SR number. We don't need a label for EBLN number. Maximum we can just modify like the BS type or all other details. OK, so like we can update company code, category and document type. Yeah. So now for this, like for we need a input field everywhere. But I will say for PO number, the input field must be in non-editable mode. So I'll say editable as editable equal to false. OK, and now for below, we must need that's it. So this is the simple form. I'll provide the title as update details. Yeah, update details. Fine. And I'll just add a button here, begin button aggregation. Text, you can add it as save, press on save record. And we can add one more button, which is a end button aggregation. Cancel on cancel record. That's it. Our fragment is ready now. Now we have to open this fragment when we click on update record. So whenever we are clicking on update, first we have to get a context, right? Like which record we want to update. That context we must get. So I'm copying the same code from above for delete. And now let's open the fragment. First of all, fragment can be opened using load fragment. And inside we can provide the path. And last would be then, which is a callback function, which will receive the dialog. OK, and I don't want that it should load every time. So I'll add not this dot o dialog. Okay, so I'll add this code in if it is else, then it should directly open this dot o dialog dot open. Okay, but for that we have to store the reference of o dialog into this dot o dialog. So what is a path of fragment? You can copy this above path. From here, you can write dot fragments dot update dialog. That's it. Okay, so this is the code. So the load fragment code which I have written, I think the function name is right. So guys, the function which I have written, whether it is right or wrong. This dot load fragment. Yeah, it is right only. Okay, so we added name and there is a callback function and we store that in one variable. Okay, fine. Yeah, so let's open the dialog first of all. Okay, there is an error. Error found in fragment ID. Cannot add text node direct child aggregation. Fragments dot update dialog. Okay, so let's check in the fragment. Contained label input. It's giving error in fragment.
Line number 40, there is less.
Where?
Line number 40.
14. Okay, fine. Yeah, let's see. Okay, cannot set properties of undefined setting or dialog. Yeah, because we must add this. We have to add bind this because scope of this will change, right? That's why we have to do bind this. Okay, one more error. It was strange, right? Okay, let me reload this. For the first time, why it is not loaded? Okay, this issue is strange. Because we didn't open, right, dialog? Guys, we didn't added a code in if open. That's why it was not opening. Sorry, I missed this code. Yeah, now at least the code dialog box will open now. See, it's opening now. Okay, so now we have the binding context. Now we have to bind these details to this update. Okay, now what we have to do here, it's very like it's a confusing one. Like we have to see how we can update this, right? Because if I'm going to directly bind this object, okay, let's say I'm getting the O context, and if I'm directly binding this O context to the fragment. So what will happen as soon as I change in the input field, automatically that change will reflect in this table, which I don't want. Okay, the modification of the data which we did on the dialog box. Okay, that should reflect if I'm clicking on save. Okay, if when I click on save, when the request is called again to read the data, then only this data should be modified. But because of two-way binding, this won't happen. Because two-way binding, what will happen? As soon as I type anything, automatically the respective field or record will be modified in the background, which I don't want. Okay, if I let's say now if I'm sticking with the one-way binding, if I stick with the one-way binding, then in that case, when I click on save button, I cannot get or I cannot access the details of all these records. In that case, again it will fail, right? So what I will do, so only one thing we have to write explicitly, that is I'm going to create my own object. Okay, so we will read the data from this entity set. Okay, so this is the record which I want, and it's a raw. Oh God. Okay, so I will copy this one record from here and I'll paste it here. Okay, now here what we will do, SR number I'm getting from the context, right? SR number, EBLN, BUKRS, all these details I will receive. So I'm going to change this quickly. Okay, likewise we have to do in every place.
So this is for getting the updated value from the fragments. Am I correct?
Yes, yes. For fragments, we want to bind this records. Yeah. Why I'm directly not binding? I can directly do that, right? I can directly simply bind the object using bind element. But why I'm not doing, because it already has that reference, the binding context. So when I change anything and when I change or when I modify any record, automatically because of two-way binding, that records will be modified in the table. So I don't want that feature to be applied.
So I mean, applied on the table means without backend call, directly applied on the table. You're saying?
Yes, yes. So once we click on save, the data, the particular record will be passed to the front end and sorry, to the back end. The table will be updated, and again we will call one read, which will bring the updated data on the table.
Yeah.
Okay, this is my payload now, and I think I copied all the records except the navigation because we don't need that. Okay, so this is the basic payload which I created. Now what I will do, I will add one more property because one model we created, if you remember, that is POJSON model, right? So this model, within this model, I will add one new property. Okay, or otherwise let it be. I'll create a new model here. PO dot set model. And yeah, within this, I'll pass new SAP dot UI model dot JSON model. And here uh, I'll pass one object O payload. And this O payload, I'll pass it here. And now what is the name of model? It is, yeah, it's payload model. That's it. So this is the model which will hold. And now this model we have to bind on our fragment. Okay. So to bind this, we don't have to do any bind element or something. We can directly, wherever there is an input field, we can directly bind that to the value property. Followed by slash, what is the property which is holding payload? Slash, and PO number property is EBLN. Okay, this should be the path for all the input fields. Only the field name have to change. For company code is BUKRS. For category BS type. And last we have like document type. It's BSART. Okay, fine. So I've added a code. Now let's see whether at least the data is visible or not. Okay. So let's say, okay, I can see the data now. So if let's say if I'm updating any company code, so it should not update in background for this record. Okay, as I have opened the first record. So let's say I'm keeping it as 0. I'll say cancel. Okay, it's not updating. Okay, at least the first step is clear now. Why I've created a separate payload, guys? You got it right. And why I've binded a separate model. See, I can even like without writing this code, I can directly bind the context object which I'm getting. But if I bind this O context instead of O payload, I'll show you the difference. Wait. Okay, I'm just replacing it with the O context which we got from the earlier. See now the output you just see. Okay, what will happen in that case? See, I'm opening this first record. Now see when I remove this, okay, in background you just see this value. I'm not sure why it is not working.
Yeah, I mean, Avik, here the different JSON model you're having in fragments, it will be different JSON model, and on table it's
Right, but generally because it happened for me couple of times. Okay, see if it is good, then if it is not happening, then we don't need this code. Then we can directly bind this O context to this O payload, and from that we can do right. Okay, fine. I think it will be fine. In that case, it will work. So we don't need this step. Just comment it out. Okay, our work is less. Yeah,
Have
our work is
binded.
reduced already. I think when we do bind element, in that case only this problem happens, right? Because using bind element, we basically bind the context object. So at that time only this issue occurs. So it's best way that instead of bind element, what you can do, you get the context, but you create a separate model and you do the basic binding instead of going with the bind element. Okay, now any record you can open. Like let's say if you want to open this 13th one, see this record is opening. Again, you can open this 15th one. See, it's getting the 15th record. Okay. Fine. Now let's update any one record from here. Let's say we want to update this 19th one. So for updation, we have to write a code on save button. So on save record, we have to write. So for update, I'll copy the same code for the delete. Okay, and I'll paste it here. Now instead of deleting, it should be updating. And now see, this URL will remain the same as it is. Okay, URL will remain as it is, but there is a record which we want to get. So that record details, guys, you can easily get from the model. Now, which model we binded on the fragment? Model is opayload model, right? So this one you can get this dot get view get model, and that is a model name. And then in within this model, we have stored it in opayload. So you can write dot get property. That's it. Now in O record, whatever we do based on two-way binding, it will that record will be stored here, and we can directly pass this record to here. That's it. OK, so it already has SR number. It already has EBLN. Now, which method we have to call in oData model to update the record? Instead of remove, we have to go with update. So there is a method called update. OK, so this update will trigger put or merge request to oData service. And it has three parameters. What is that? First, we have to pass the property name with key value pairs in the S path. Second is the payload. Payload is the object or the data that must be updated. And the last is the M parameter, which is as usual, similar to the other methods. So first is the path. Now I'll give comma. Now already the comma is there. I will pass record here. I'll say record. I'll give comma. And now last is this one. That's it. OK, that's it, guys. I don't have to write anything here now. Now I can simply, when we press on the save, automatically that record will be updated. And once the record is updated, again, it will read the data. But for updating and for deleting, we have to pass key value pairs or key fields. So I have to define one more function for closing the fragment. How I'm closing as of now using escape. Using escape key, I'm able to close that. You can simply close that dialog box. And see, guys, once the record is updated, we must close that fragment which we opened, right? Because it doesn't make any sense that to keep that fragment open. So we must close that dialog box once the record is updated after clicking on save. OK, so I've added this dot o dialog dot close to close the dialog. Yeah. So now let's see how to do that. OK, so I'm going to update the first record, which has company code 001, category is F, and document type is NB. So for this, let's say I'm going with 03 as a company code. Category should be like A, and instead of NB, I'll go with NA. OK, so I've updated company code, category, and document type with this details. And which record I'm going to update? The first one. So before I click save, I'll put a breakpoint and I'll show you. OK. So we have a breakpoint here. So first of all, we will get oData model, and from that we will get the data which is updated on this fragment using the new model. And you can see whatever the details we updated because of two-way binding, we are able to receive that details. OK, because by default JSON model supports two-way binding. So the records that we have updated within the input field, we got those details: BSART as NA, BS type as A, and BUKRS, which is 0003. This is what the three fields we have updated. Rest all fields we haven't touched. So we will pass those details as it is. But one thing is there. See, Now I don't want to update this navigation property, right? I don't want to update this details. So I must delete this details. So how to delete this details? Anyone knows how to delete this property from this object? I have already shown this in the first session of JavaScript. If you remember, like how to delete.
Slice method we have to use.
No, 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 not slice. There is a dedicated property for to perform any deletion operation on the object. If you want to delete any property from the object, so there is a keyword for that. What is that? See, the keyword is very simple. You just write delete followed by the object dot, just add the navigation property name. Okay, navigation properties PO entry nav. That's it. See, now it is deleted. Now again, if you go to O record, now you won't see that navigation property. See, just now we deleted it. How to delete any property from the object? Using delete keyword. Okay, so this we must add. See, now I'm not going to perform create deep entity call. Now I'm not updating the hierarchical data. It's a normal data, right? It's a flat structure. It's not in the deep structure. Okay, so it will only trigger which one? It will trigger normal update entity. Okay, it will normally trigger update entity method, not the create deep entity. And here also instead of remove, I'll say update. And before we pass this record, I'll make sure that the record, the specific navigation property should be deleted. Okay, so let it, I think it will reload one more time now. I think if service triggered, no, service not triggered. Okay, fine. So let's click on delete now. Sorry, let's update these details. Okay. Now before the record is passed, I think I'll remove the breakpoint, right, guys? Wait. I think I have to show that how it works. Okay, so see now record is updating and you can see. Can you see the details here? I think it went downside. See? Can you see now? Just now we updated this record 03. Company type is A, and you can see the document type also. Okay. Now, when we go to the network, I'll show you like which call it triggered. You can see it triggered merge call. And for that PO address set is there, and you can see the SR number details and all. And as soon as you scroll down, you can see this details as well, which we passed. Okay. See, this is what the details we passed. And you can get these details as well in the network call. Just scroll, we have to scroll down and you can see that under the payload tab. Okay. This is how we delete, we have updated the record using the update method of oData model. And what is the last step? Last step is the create. So for create, guys, what will change here? For create URL, in the URL, we must keep only PO header set. Okay. In the URL, we must keep only PO header set. We should not pass any key parameter within the URL. Next thing is instead of update, the method for the method which will trigger post call is create in oData model. So there is a create method which will trigger a post request to oData service. Okay. And then for for create also, there are three parameters. First is the path, second is the payload structure, and third is the normal object like success and for error callback functions. Okay, so guys, what I will do, so for create, I'm just going to add one basic button on the top of table. Okay, and when we click on add, automatically one record will be added in this table. Okay, so I will just hard code one record here. So this is a table now. So above the table, see already the table has header toolbar, and inside the header toolbar we can add like a toolbar, and inside the toolbar you can add like toolbar spacer, and after that you can add a button. That's it. So I will add this function. So for adding, I'll copy the same code from the top and I'll paste it here. Okay, now here we don't need any details. Just keep blank empty object. We just keep this entity set name. Don't pass any key parameters or key value pairs, and just update or just change this method from update to create. That's it. And this dialog box, yeah, adding record. Now, what should be the data? What we must pass in O record? So we just keep this as a commented. And I'll pass one hard-coded record, guys, from the top. Okay, so this is the record. I'll just copy this record as it is, and I'll pass it here. Okay, let's say I'm going to add this record as like SR number we don't need, right? Automatically that record will be added. Let's say I go with 25 and rest all details. I'll keep it as usual. Let's see whether this EBLN, whether it is getting added or not. So this is what the payload structure which I'm going to pass. Okay, that's it. You can, we don't need this because as of now, I'm not going to pass that. That's it. This is for adding a new record. Okay, guys. So you can see one add button on the top. Now, when we click on add button, I'll show you how the record will be added. So I'm simply clicking on add. See, it's triggering the call directly. Let's see what we passed in the batch. You can see there is a post call for that entity set because we added a create method. Okay, when we call create method of oData model, internally, which service it will trigger? It will trigger HTTP post call or post oData service for that. And this is what the payload we pass for that. Okay, and what is the response? The response is the record is created successfully. Okay, and now again it read again there is one more call to read the data. Now when we scroll down, can you see this record here? See, the record is created now. Okay, guys, any questions? So it's almost similar to the update. Only there is a change in method and the change in the URL. So when it comes to the create, don't pass any key parameters. Okay.
Yeah.
Any
So
questions?
I mean, so you have hard-coded here on this JSON payload, but I mean like on click up add, the pop-up will come like
Yes,
fragments will come
normally.
and like that.
Yes, yes. Normally pop-up should come and user will update the details. When you click on save, you must pass those details, like you must capture those details in one model and you pass it as a payload, like what we did for the update, right? So in update, we just added, we binded one new, we created new model, we have updated the existing one, and we just pass that details with the help of that record. Okay. So we got the detail using get property and we stored that detail and then we passed it in a payload in the last parameter. So guys, we completed the CRUD operation basically. So any questions in this?
Yeah, big one more question actually. So I mean, I have observed, like after any read call or update call, if there is any logic, is written after read call, then the debugger will reach after read call directly to the that logic, and it will after some time it will come to the success. How? I mean, like you understood, right? And the
See, yeah, right. So there is one thing behind this. Like, see, whenever I'm making or I'm triggering any OData request or OData service, right? When I trigger any OData service, so normally the service will take some time, right? The service will take some time to read the data. But see, till our basic read call is starting from line number 29 and it's ending till 45. So if I'm adding any code after this, let's say I'm adding a code and this code I want that it should execute after this OData call. So it won't happen because below code below code will not wait for service to get the response. Okay, you got it right? What I want to say here.
yeah. So what is that kind of like call actually? This read call, is it because of
Now,
asynchronous or something?
no. It's a asynchronous because normally see the it will take some time to read the data, right? And then meanwhile, what will happen as soon as this code is execute, below code will start executing before it get the response.
Correct. Yeah.
So to handle this situation, what you can do, either you add all the code inside the success or you call one more function inside the success. And within that function, you can add the logic, remaining logic. Okay. But it should be after executing the success. Okay. So you must add code inside the success callback. That is the best way that we can achieve.
Okay. Yeah, got it. And yeah, one more question is, like let's say this is once you got the response and you are binding it.
Mm-hmm.
So if there is a button actually, the table will show the record as a blank record. Once I click a button, then record will populate actually on the table. So
Right.
in that case, it how it will be binded actually, to the
See,
table.
normally, like you have seen couple of apps, right, in which there is an add button and there is a, let's say initially there is no record in the table. Now you want to
Correct.
create a new record in this table, right? But
Yeah.
when that record should be created, if user is clicking on save, then that new record should be passed to the backend and initially you can see the details here, right? But
Yeah.
like locally to work with the data, locally to work with that row, when I'm clicking on this add button, I should at least see one blank row and with that input fields, right?
Yeah.
That is what you're expecting, right?
Yeah, I mean, kind of a report actually also. So once on the header section, the date would be there. Let's say on the header
Hmm,
section.
hmm.
If I put the date and click on go button, then the report will show. But before that, actually, it should the table control should show blank record actually.
Blank record. Okay. So
Uh-huh.
initially you want this table to be blank,
It
right?
should be blank, yeah.
Yeah, that you can achieve, right? See, this
On
function that we added this function in on init, right? So you can call this function by just by calling this based on one button.
oh,
You
yeah,
can add one button like go on the top. If user is clicking on go button, then you call this service, then you call this
yeah.
function.
Yeah, fine. I understood actually. I was thinking, like to bind through a blank array or something. Yeah, I got it.
Okay. See, that also we can do like, see, there are normally different types of CRUD operation. Different type of option or functionalities we can provide with the help of this CRUD operations. Like normally there will be a blank table, and let's say you want to create a new record. So we will click on add. Instead of showing one pop-up, let's say I'm directly creating one blank row here. Okay, I will add one blank row, and each and every column data will be blank, and only one row will be added at a time, right? So when I add any code in this, now I want to save this record. So I'm clicking on save. So when I click on save, automatically this record will be passed to the backend, and then the particular record will be created inside the table. So that is how the functionality will work. It depends on the requirement at the end.
Yeah, got it.
Okay, so there can be even like multiple records we can do, like let's say we want initially I want to create 3 records or 3 rows at the same time. So you can fill all the 3 rows. So if you are clicking on the save button, then you can simply pass these 3 records in create deep entity structure. So I think in last session we have already seen, right? So within a payload, we must pass 3 line items, and then that specific record will be created. Okay. So payload wise, almost it is the same. Nothing is there in payload. Instead of, see, as of now, we just added this record, right, without navigation property. So you can simply introduce a navigation property name, and you can pass the data like this. You pass the results, colon, and array. This would be the payload structure if you are passing the data or line item data, or you want to create a multiple line item records at the same time. Okay, that would be the change, nothing else. So guys, any questions? I think only one topic is left, that is a history topic. So I think it's it's already 12, right? So I won't, I'm not going to take more time. So history, we will cover this history topic tomorrow in the morning, and after that we will proceed with the deployment steps. Okay. So our tomorrow's agenda would be like the deployment configuration, history part, and after that I'll show you like how to work with the third-party libraries, how to add custom CSS. So that will be covered tomorrow. And in the last session, so I'll show you how to activate the standard app, how to extend the standard app in a basic way, and after that smart controls. Okay, so that will be covered in the last like in coming Saturday. Okay. So fine, guys. So let's connect tomorrow at the same time, like around 8:30. We will connect tomorrow. Okay, at 8:30. So I'll upload this project on the drive. You can just go through this once. Any questions?
No.
Okay, fine.
Yeah.
Let me just import this project. I'll upload this project.
Save the recording of the Camille files to be